Good afternoon. I'm Steve Naveau, Human Resources Director, and I'll be presenting the Memoranda of Understanding for Employee Bargaining Units, along with Mike Moore, Human Resources Manager. So the purpose of this agenda item is to adopt successor Memoranda of Understanding, also known as MOUs, with the International Union of Operating Engineers, known as IUOE, that represents about 400 employees in the city. The Service Employees International Union, known as SEIU, which represents about 300 employees in the city. The Oxnard Peace Officers Association, also known as OPOA, which represents around 230 employees in the city. And the Executive and Unrepresented employees via a resolution, which represents about 20 employees. Additionally, there's resolutions here that will approve new classification due to the class and comp study and modifying the position control resolution as well. So the city's agenda in this round of bargaining with its bargaining units was to accomplish three main objectives. It was an implementation of a class and compensation study, which we've been working on for a number of years, providing cost of living adjustments, which employees in the city have not received in quite a number of years, and making modifications to the city's medical plan, which includes changes in the contributions. In addition to that, there were some bargaining unit specific issues that we agreed to with each bargaining unit that we're going to be presenting. So the first item, class and comp study, which is primarily with IUOE, SEIU, the executive and unrepresented group. This does not apply to the POA group. And the purpose of the study was to create a broad class system, creating both internal equity for like type work and then overlaying that equity analysis with an external market adjustment. And the last time the city did anything like this was over 25 years ago. And this is something that should be evaluated and looked at approximately every 10 years to be sure that our jobs are in alignment with one another, that the work in each position is appropriate to the classification that it's assigned to, and it also helps us look at the market and adjust salaries accordingly to be sure we are up to date on what we're paying employees. Then, of course, the other item is some cost of living adjustments. So it's been 7 years since employees have received any kind of cost of living adjustments. So our salary ranges have stayed pretty stagnant. As we all are aware of, there's been a lot of inflation recently. But even barring that, this is something that has needed to look at for quite some time. And it does hinder our ability to recruit new talent to the organization when we have agencies around us and throughout the region that are taking cost of living adjustments while the city has remained relatively stagnant in this area. So under our medical plan, there's a driving philosophy that we have that really the city should be contributing money to a medical plan in order to provide affordable coverage for employees. Also, we look at parity amongst all bargaining units. So in the past with the city, prior to the last round of contracts we had with the bargaining groups, we had contributions that were kind of all over the map. And so we were able to get the bargaining groups into alignment, and we're looking to maintain that alignment when it comes to the city's contribution. There's also there's also issues currently in our current structure with where employees get cash when they take a plan, and if there's money left over in the city's contribution, employees get that as cash. We were looking at ramping that down, reducing the amount of cash employees can get in their pocket, and instead reallocating that cash back into the plan to actually assist with the affordability of health plans, healthcare, health insurance. So those were things we were looking at when we were trying to develop a new structure for our medical plan. This ultimately led us to establishing kind of what's a two-level medical plan. So it's level one is kind of a legacy plan where contributions are frozen. The cash back that employees take will decline over a period of time. And if employees are waiving coverage, each bargaining unit has a certain dollar amount that they get for waiving coverage. and that will be frozen. Whereas level 2, this is for employees, both existing employees and new employees. So new employees cannot go into the level 1 plan. They can only go into this level 2 plan effective January 1st of 2023. In this plan, this is where we see the city's contribution increasing each year in order to stay up with the market. We significantly pared back a waive for employees waiving healthcare. There is a cashback option, which that does help save the city money when employees are looking at their individual situation. Sometimes it's better to have them waive because they may be able to get coverage someplace, at a spouse or partner's employer, and it may be less expensive. And this actually saves the city money. If you think in terms of the city's contribution of $1,700 a month for an employee to take a family plan, and instead they opt to go off our plan and someplace else, we then have a savings. So it is not a bad idea to offer some incentive for an employee to not take our plan, provided that they're actually getting coverage elsewhere. And employees who actually opt for a medical plan and that medical plan's premium is less than the city's contribution, there is no cash back, which again, historically in the city, employees have gotten cash back for that. So overall, this medical plan, it attains our goals, which is to slowly right the ship, so to speak, when it comes to the medical plan, get employees to move into this level 2 plan where the city's contribution does increase, but where any kind of cash in their pocket is being significantly reduced, or either over time or reduced at the time of employment. Okay, the next item that's common to all the groups are cost of living adjustments. So with the IUOE group, the SEIU group, and the executive unrepresented, there are 3% COLAs that are occurring in each fiscal year of the contract. Now, an item to note is that as far as the executive group goes, there's a 3% increase in the salary ranges for that group, and that's in order to maintain a differential between the assistant directors and managers, et cetera, who are getting 3% COLAs. But department heads are not automatically getting a 3% COLA. That is subject to review by the city manager, as it always has been. So really, as far as COLAs go and it being negotiated to where employees get this, it's really IUOE, SEIU, and then there's a small group of unrepresented employees that are in the executive unrepresented resolution, which are going to get this 3% increase that was negotiated. The POA, Oxnard Police Officers Association, so they have a 3-year contract. In the first year of the contract, there is no increase. That was last year. And then they're getting a 5% in year 2 and year 3. So for a total of a 10% COLA. A lot of agencies around us, when it comes to peace officers, this is about the range that these COLAs are happening for them, as well as for the non-safety groups. So going back again to the IUOE, SEIU, we're seeing COLAs in the 3-4% ranges in agencies all around us. So, and then in terms of the class and compensation study, which does not apply to the POA, there are new ranges being established. There are no employees are getting any kind of an instant increase, an instant bump in compensation by moving to this new class and compensation structure. Rather, employees will advance through those new compensation ranges based on the cost of living adjustments like I just spoke of, as well as annual wage adjustments that employees have gotten that are in their contracts from a number of years back. In class and comp, there is, when we first implemented, there's a range that we are trying to accomplish, a range spread in the salary range. And at the end of these deals, or like with IUOE, it's June of 2024, and SEIU, it's January of 2024, we will bring employees up into that minimum range spread that we're trying to accomplish. And that's based on the market analysis and the entire study that went out and did analysis of approximately 11 agencies. In terms of actual now specific bargaining unit points that were negotiated. So the prior slides were more of the common provisions that were agreed to in these contracts. The next couple of slides are going to be more based on very specific issues that each bargaining unit has. So in IUOE, there were 3 items we looked at. So the first, on the standby, we increased the rate of pay from $2 to $3 an hour. These are folks that they are on standby at night, on the weekends, on holidays. And when they're on standby, they have to be ready and available to return to work. In this instance, generally speaking, it's within 45 minutes to an hour. They have to be back on the work site for some emergency purpose. So this is a dollar value that has not gone up in many years. And again, in public sector industries, particularly where this is used, is in the utilities. If something happens, it's very common to see this range go from anywhere to $2 to $4 an hour. So, us bumping it to 3, we're very much still below the high point of the market for sure. Tool allowance, this applies just to our mechanics. And again, an industry standard is that mechanics who work on vehicles purchase their own tools. And so we're doing a very modest increase of $75 a year to a total of $1,025 per year. Their tools are very expensive to purchase, and so this does help them. It assists them with purchasing and maintaining those tools for them to use on city vehicles. The last one here is vacation accrual. This is a parity issue. In the past, IUOE had a floating holiday that they were able to use that was bargained many years ago, and that actually went away in the current contract. What the bargaining group wanted is parity with SCIU, which is is a group of employees that are non-management employees. So this brings them just to the same level. It essentially gives them one more day a year of vacation, and like I said, brings parity with SCIU, which the city believes is very appropriate for them to have. For the executive and unrepresented resolution, a couple of items. So severance pay is an item that we wanted to put into this resolution. It's up to $75,000, and it has to be authorized by the city manager and the city attorney. And for something like this would be essentially a department head if they're let go, not through any malfeasance, not through a policy violation, breaking law, or anything like that, but they are at will. And if the city manager decides to let them go, there would be they would basically execute a waiver of liability, and it would be up to the city manager if the city manager wants to provide up to $75,000. Right now, the city manager and the city attorney do have authority along these lines under the city's liability policy. However, we think this is a more streamlined approach, and it's just very straightforward rather than going through a liability policy to essentially execute the same provision. And again, this is not an uncommon practice throughout California when it comes to department heads. Moving and expense reimbursement. So this has been a item that has been requested many times, and many times we've had to tell candidates no, and it has actually impacted our ability at times to actually recruit qualified candidates. It's again something that we see common in the marketplace when it comes to department heads or executives, that agencies may offer assistance when it comes to moving. When you have a candidate moving across country, generally speaking, that's where we would look at using this type of money, is when they're moving from another state to California. So this gives us that ability to actually offer some assistance with that. It would be the type of thing where we'd reimburse them for expenses, and it would be something that's negotiated prior to them actually coming on board. The last one is a elimination of a benefit, so and then providing a different benefit. So right now, employees get a $500 wellness benefit that they can use to purchase various things, whether it be gym memberships, things of that nature. This is an item that's been around in the city for over 20 plus years, and it's generally a little difficult to administer. So we wanted to make a modification on this, and instead of having this wellness benefit, taking money and adding a little bit more to it and creating a retiree health savings plan. So this would assist employees after they retire with helping them with healthcare costs. So this can be used either to pay for premiums or to assist to pay for healthcare premiums, to assistance with contributions towards prescriptions, things of that nature. So this is essentially it's like a 401(a) account that the city places money into. Like here, it's a 1% contribution, and then employees are able to use that for healthcare and retirement. So items specific to the OPOA, there is this roll-up of percentage-based ad pays, and what these are is over the years, the POA and actually police officer associations all across California, they negotiate additional pays, and their percentage-based pays usually for things like, some of it could be longevity. We see longevity in contracts. The longer you stay in an agency, you start reaching some levels where you get additional pay for just being in the agency. Or there's things like night differential. So to try to get people to move to the night differential, we may pay more for that type of thing. So these are types of things that we feel hides compensation to the public. And so what we wanted to do is basically roll those ad pays up, put it into the base pay rate for police officers, and that is the pay rate. And there are no other ad pays. So when members of the public look to see what does a police officer make, or if you have somebody who's interested in becoming a police officer with the city of Oxnard, you look at that rate of pay, that pay range, and that is pretty much what you can make. There aren't any hidden add-ons or ad pays as we call them here. Instead, it's very clear. It's much more transparent for the public to see this. We think this is a really good thing, both for the public, for the police officers, and also for us to recruit candidates, because there's no more hidden ad pays that you have to search through to find what are we really paying to police officers. In addition, in their deal, we're doing a one-time cash payment, and that's to settle 2 existing items of litigation that the city has. And so these cash payments will extinguish 2 of these items. It's a $4,000 one-time. We think that it's a very good deal for the city as far as it saves time, it saves litigation costs, all of that to reach this type of a deal. Also, there is an adjustment to the public safety dispatcher ranges, and similar to what I spoke of earlier about class and comp, there's no immediate increases for these folks, but dispatch has been an area that the city has struggled with for many, many years, trying to recruit and retain dispatchers. The county pays very high, so oftentimes we recruit dispatchers and they go and they work for, we train them up and they go and they work for the county. So this, we're hoping, is going to bring us very close to what the county pays, so we should be able to actually recruit and retain. Right now we have approximately 28 positions or so, and we have around about 21 or so are filled. It kind of fluctuates, so there is always overtime. Burnout is always an issue of concern for us, for the police chief. And so we're hoping by making this adjustment and really getting aggressive with how we are paying in the market, that we will actually become a place that dispatchers come and work and stay, and we no longer have all of these additional overtime costs and the fatigue and burnout that our dispatchers experience. The last item for OPOA is a small tuition reimbursement. A lot of our bargaining units have that. POA does not. This is a $1,000 reimbursement. It's very minimal, and we think it's worth to reinvest back into our employees.
The estimated cost of this package for IUOE, OPOA, SEIU, and the executive unrepresented group for the upcoming 3-year period is $12,738,520. Over the term of the agreement, that's approximately 9.26% of total compensation, or about 3.09% per year. For the general fund impact, for the 3-year term, it is approximately $8,087,342. Just a reminder, the first year of the OPOA agreement is fiscal year 21-22. There was zero cost in that first year, and all of the costs of that agreement are in its year 2 and 3. The city's CFO estimates that for each fund and department impacted by the contracts, the adopted budget for fiscal year 22-23 has sufficient appropriations. And for bargaining units still actively negotiating, there may be a need for additional appropriations once those are completed. We like to show two different methodologies for how we show the contract costs in each fiscal year: the labor methodology and the budget methodology. For the labor methodology, that illustrates the cost in each year independently from the other years as a percentage of base compensation. So you can see at the end of the term that is 9.26% for the labor methodology. The budget methodology compounds the increased costs over the term of the entire contract as a percentage of base compensation. So each year, the prior year is added to the total. And you can see by the end of the term, under the budget methodology and the total for the labor methodology, the net result is the same, which is a 9.26% overall cost increase at $12.738 million. And that concludes our presentation, and we will be available at the meeting to answer any questions that anyone has. Thank you very much.